If you've never thrown your budget in the trash and just started over from scratch, then you might be missing serious opportunities to save more money, reach your goals more quickly, and spend more joyfully. I've been teaching people how to manage their money for 4 years now, and I burn down my budget at least once a year. And I'm going to give you 3 reasons why you should too. I'm Ben with the YNAB team, and this is sketchy advice. Money advice that actually flipping Money advice that actually works. Don't ask how many takes that took. So why would I tell you to burn down your beautiful, pristine budget? Reason number 1, anchoring bias. Now, of course, we're going to start this section with a little piece of aquamarine biology trivia. How many species of octopus do you think there are? Let's make this really simple. Do you think it's more or less than 45? Now let's up the difficulty. I want you to think of a specific number. What is your best guess as to how many species of octopus exist on Earth? Got it? The correct answer is somewhere around 300. Now, if you were way under that answer, don't feel too bad. It's partly my fault. When I asked you if it was more or less than 45, I created an anchor. And odds are, whether you realized it or not, your brain probably used that anchor as a reference point. It didn't want to stray too far from the number 45. Behavioral economist Daniel Kahneman found over multiple experiments that when your brain tries to come up with a number, it's hard. So it grabs onto any number you give it, even if that number has nothing to do with what you're talking about. This is why the first number that gets said in a salary negotiation is super important. If you're not aware of anchoring bias, then that first number becomes the center of gravity for the whole discussion. It's also why stores will always show you how much something used to cost relative to what it costs now. But this is something we can also do to ourselves within our own spending plans. If your grocery budget is based on numbers that made sense in 2018, that may be why you're constantly overspending it. Even though the numbers you're staring at are anchored in a reality you don't live in anymore, anchoring bias can make it really hard to change them in any significant way. Burning down your entire plan gives you a chance to ask that question fresh. How much makes sense for groceries? Now. How much makes sense for car repairs? Now. Anchored to the current reality. If you're a YNABer and the idea of burning down your whole plan feels absolutely horrendous to you, you can at least compare your average spent in a category to the target to see if you've misanchored. You've misanchored. Reason number 2 to burn down your budget, priming with problems limits your imagination. My son Knox is going to start preschool this fall, which is a new expense for us. So naturally, I would go create a category in YNAB and shuffle dollars into that category and kind of recalibrate my plan. But has it ever happened to you where you try to do something like that and it just doesn't seem possible? Your categories just seem too dialed in. Everything is just so perfect. You couldn't possibly change anything. Or you only ever find yourself pulling dollars from the same handful of categories, which just happen to be categories you really, really enjoy. You're not crazy, and your plan's actually not perfect. Consider this study. This study involved 2 groups of engineers. One group of engineers was told to design a spill-proof coffee mug, while the other group was shown a design for a spill-proof coffee mug that didn't work and was told to fix it. Which group do you think is more likely to be successful? On average, when they ran this experiment, the group that was shown the bad coffee mug was 17 times more likely to fail at the task. They came up with fewer designs, they had fewer original approaches, and in general, they were more likely to feel that there just wasn't really a solution. When you look at a plan that's already made and you're told to fix something about it, well, you feel somewhat locked into what that plan is, and deviating too much from what the plan already looks like can feel wrong. So we wind up limiting our options. But when you burn your budget down and look at all the money you have and say, what do I want this money to do? That opens you up to all kinds of possibilities. If you're in a situation like mine, one thing you can do is burn down your plan and then start with the new expense. Build everything around those dollars being assigned to that. You'd be surprised how flexible your plan can actually be. And finally, reason number 3. You need to remember your budget isn't real. For some reason, it is so easy to look at this list of numbers and words and perceive it as some kind of magical entity that came to us in a vision and demands our allegiance. Literally this year, there was a point where I was looking at our budget and I'm going, man, we're just not doing great. And then I burned the whole thing down and I redistributed everything and I went, oh, we're actually fine. We were just stuck looking at a plan that had fallen out of alignment with where we were actually at. That plan is not a moral code or a prophecy you need to fulfill. You are the boss of it. It is not the boss of you. So if you haven't burned down your budget in a while, might be time to light a match. Bye.